What if I told you that the creative industry's biggest disruptors aren't coming from Silicon Valley boardrooms, but coming from independent artists working in their closets with AI tools? Today's guest, Justin Cram, just proved that point by building $1 million creative studio in 7 months using nothing but AI, authenticity, and a willingness to call BS on the old way of doing things. This is the future of work with AI, where we explore how artificial intelligence is transforming careers, industries, and the very nature of creativity itself. Justin is the founder of Shit Show Creative, and yes, that's the real name of his company. He's working with everyone from horror foundations to environmental projects, and he's got some pretty provocative things to say about why most creatives are getting AI completely wrong. So if you've ever wondered whether AI is here to replace human creativity or amplify it, buckle up. This conversation is about to challenge everything you think you know. Let's dive in.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of The Future of Work with AI. I'm your host, Emily Alvarez, and I am very excited today to be joined by my friend Justin Cram. He is the founder and CCO, Chief Creative Officer of the Shit Show Creative, which I love the name of the business. He is also a comedy writer, soccer dad, mental health advocate, and he has been working with some very awesome clients in the last probably since May, because your company just launched in May, right? On Cinco de
Right,
Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo. Yep,
Yeah,
that's
and
right.
then you've been working with the Expira House, the George A. Romero Foundation, which is awesome, big horror fan. LivingSeawall.org, which we can talk about as well, because that's a really cool project in Miami. And then you've done
Shout out to calamari jerky client, the Hermit.
oh yeah,
That
the hermit. Yeah, I forgot about the jerky guy. That you just
hmm
got him, I think, last time we chatted. So
Yeah,
super cool, kind of creative, funky clients that you get to work with, and it's really a lot of fun to talk to you always because we get into some really interesting conversations. So welcome to the show, Justin. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the shit show creative.
yeah. Thanks for having me. So I grew up in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, and I was the always drawn to the creative writing field. My dad was a hotel manager, and as soon as we'd check into the hotel, I would run to the pad of paper and the pen and start drawing cartoon characters and things like that. And then I learned one day that you can make a living from creativity, and I became a copywriter. So I write ads and taglines and scripts for short films and documentaries. And I did this for 20 years. And then I really enjoyed it, especially freelance. And then my world was rocked a bit by AI. I felt it first actually through my friends, some of whom were making 200,000 a year as freelancers.
Yeah,
It came to a grinding halt and they went without work for 10 months.
right,
I was coasting, fortunately, on very cool clients that I'd had pre-AI,
right,
but I saw the writing on the wall because what was keeping that going was a good relationship I had with them that we probably
yeah.
wouldn't have met in a post-AI world. So Bob Dylan said, if you ain't got nothing, you got nothing to lose. So I was basically going to let my freak flag fly, I believe is the expression. So I went on LinkedIn and I started being myself. And I'm not the only one, but it's kind of unusual to be yourself on LinkedIn. But there's a handful of other writers in my industry doing that. And
Right.
honestly, they'd get 4 or 5 likes. And we were trying to entertain each other.
Right, right.
And then one Monday morning, I posted an Onion style parody article embracing the chaos shit show creative launches.
Yeah.
And I made an AI image in about 10 seconds. I said I want three white, smug founders standing in front of a modernist building in Venice, California. And then I went with the first option. I posted the article. I went for a walk and I come back and the thing has about 500,000 impressions.
Oh my gosh.
And a guy from Australia contacts me soon after because he says, I'm in Venice and I want to swing by the office. I think we could do great work together.
Yeah.
And I thought, what the hell have I done? Because I was panicked because for 9 years, I moved to, I worked in San Francisco for 10 years. That's where my career, most of it was. I moved back in 2016, but I didn't change my LinkedIn because I didn't want people to pay me what they thought were like small town rates when
Sure,
Fort
sure.
Lauderdale is a very expensive town, and parts of it are more
Yes.
expensive than the Bay Area.
Yeah, I think they just came out and said Miami is like the fifth most expensive city in the world
Yeah,
right now, or in the United States
it's
right now.
insane. There's
Yeah.
more super. First time I went to Beverly Hills, I was actually surprised how fewer supercars there are than here.
Yeah.
Um, and then the thing exploded, and then I started. Crazy thing is that 40% of my views were from Hollywood, and a lot of people in Hollywood thought it was a teaser for a TV show or a movie.
Oh, yeah.
And there's an Apple Plus show that won a bunch of awards. I love it. A lot of people don't subscribe to Apple TV, Apple Plus, but it's called The Studio. And
Okay.
this it's Seth Rogen's show, which is essentially about what a shit show Hollywood is.
Right.
And the
Right.
crazy thing is it's a love letter to Hollywood, and it's the purest form of a roast, because I think a true roast, you love the person, and that's why it's funny.
It's a tribute in a like kind of a dark way, right? Which
Yes,
is sort of like it came out like with Gen X was sort of the ones that came out with the whole roast concept, which makes
yes,
sense because we have that dark sense of humor, right?
yes,
So yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So I started I think not soon after this, I started roasting the CEOs of all these holding companies and this award show they had at the Cannes Ad Festival. And I'd wake up at 4 in the morning when Cannes was beginning to like just kind of playfully make fun of these CEOs. And I was
right,
who were partying on yachts while the world burns and while their industry burns. And while, I was basically like, have fun at Cannes. I'm here working with the rest of us,
right,
independent creatives. There's people who do the work, people who talk about work. And
right,
I commend the people who did the work and were there to collect the awards. No, I celebrate them. I do not celebrate the holding company bean counters who think innovation is laying off massive departments
right.
and then giving themselves a raise and a stock buyback. I mean, it's absurd. So I've learned that they always say speak truth to power and punch up, but I've learned how much fun that is. Not just that it's ethical and the right thing to do, it's actually just so fulfilling and so fun. And it draws us together as a community, and we can do that together.
Absolutely.
And we can change things because there's a revolution right now. I mean, there was New Hollywood in the early 70s, and the only reason they had The Godfather, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, or George Lucas given the keys to Star Wars, or the only reason he was given that deal is they were desperate because TV was eating their lunch.
Right.
And this happens over and over. And now AI is an existential threat to the music, the film industry, I'm sure video games. I just read today in New York Times, this guy was a business person at a video game firm, and then he learned on YouTube how to develop himself, probably using AI tools.
Right.
And it's a huge hit, and it's different than kind of the schlock that the company you work for is putting out. So it's time for new stories, new authors, new characters. I got Carl the Manatee right here.
I
I
love
mean,
him.
Mickey Mouse is great, but he wasn't part of an effort to save the rodents' lives or anything.
Right.
So I want this to be like a new Disney fueled by AI with stories from all around the world, current stories. We're not reaching back to Hansel and Gretel and Cinderella. Current stories and real stories grounded in truth from different cultures.
Right.
And AI can be and will be democratized. And I believe um, right now the art is the living. The living is the writing because the writing process is easier now. But you got to have the thing to write about. And the
Right.
writing
Well,
about it comes from experience or folklore, you listening to your great grandparents and remembering their wisdom, right?
right. Well, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying. And you bring up some really strong points about AI and really the ethos of this podcast and what we try to do, at least at our company, because um, we recognize that AI, is groundbreaking, world-changing tech, right? This is gonna change the way we look at pretty much everything we do. And yes, we was telling you this, we were chatting before the call. Creatives, in my experience, are very threatened by this technology. Some more than others. Some have embraced it, like you've embraced it, I've embraced it. Um, my daughter, who's a musician, she's very leery of it. My other
Hmm.
musician friends are very leery of it, professional musician friends, and they're like, I don't know about this. And I think the reason, um, because I understand how AI works, and so and as do you, and so for me, I look at something like AI, and in the 2.5 years or whatever I've been using it, or 3 years, or however long ChatGPT has been out now, 3 years, I guess. I feel like it's only made me better.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I know that there are people that maybe haven't experienced it in that way. And so they believe the hype, like you said, of what they've heard, either in the media or on YouTube or on some conspiracy podcast,
Yeah.
or, like depending upon if you turn on whatever news station you're watching, or heaven forbid, social media, which is like where 70% of people get their news from, which is
Right.
terrifying to me.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so, but it makes them afraid of their own creative deficit in that
Right.
degree. And they think, like, I think AI is just the placeholder for this inner voice that we don't trust anymore. And so
Hmm.
we have to get beyond that point, because really what we're up against is an existential threat to our ego.
Right.
Because
I
we tie our
100%.
ego into that, right? Into what we create
Hmm.
as a creative. So if we are looking at AI as a threat, then that means we fear it,
Right.
because it could replace us, or it could make our mediocrity, or what
Hmm.
we think is mediocrity about ourselves, our insecurities, come to the, rise to the
Right.
top. And
Well, I
that's
think
that's it right there.
I've done a lot of work on my ego and meditation and spirituality to reduce it. And it just so happened that it was around the time of the rise of AI.
Right.
And the more you suppress or control or manage, I guess you shouldn't control it because then it'll control you more. But as long as you can be aware of your ego and try not to let it rule you,
Right.
you can be empowered by AI and I think, really spread your light. Like, let's say that you have a little bit of light emanating that you bring to people at a party and that you run into on the street.
Right.
You can bring that and emanate, you can emit that to the world. And then I've I've met people in India or New Zealand or Russia who I have so much in common with. I'm not just sense of humor, voice, values that my own neighbors don't share. People in my family don't share. And this is amazing because I always thought it was woo-woo, this whole law of attraction that we attract energy. But because of technology and because of maybe an ancient energy connection and subtle cues, we're finding each other. The weirdos are finding each other, or the
Right.
misfits, or the good kind of troublemakers who can stir things up.
Right. No, I agree with you. It's in the last year, because I took a step back from like technology for a year. I didn't go on social media. I just quit social media for a year and detoxed myself from it. And I still don't get on it very much. I get on LinkedIn because I do for work stuff on there, but I don't really get on social media very often anymore. Um, just because after the detox, I was like, wow, I went a whole year without this, and now I'm like, I don't really need it.
Yes.
Like,
Uh-huh.
like take it or leave it. Uh, but I think, yeah, it's I don't know. We are finding each other because of the algorithms,
Mm,
right? The connection between the algorithms, and um, I know that on LinkedIn, like you and I connected on LinkedIn, right?
right.
And that came because probably the algorithm somehow
Mm,
matched us, right? As being like, oh, okay, like I know that Emily reaches out to people about doing podcasts, and this guy is, somehow the algorithms connected us. And
Yes.
that's happened to me a lot this year, but it's because I've become more vocal.
Yes.
And so, because I was not for like a year, I was not vocal at
Right.
all. But now I kind of got to a point where because I personally have spent so much time in AI and I've been working with our CEO for the last year and our team for the last year, and we've been building this company and this product, and I'm seeing all of this stuff, this noise going on
Mm,
about AI, and I can foresee what's coming. I
right.
almost feel like it's ethically my responsibility to at least tell people
Right.
what I'm seeing and the truth about what I'm seeing. And guess what? It's not all the way over here, and it's not all the way over here. And like AI is not this big scary monster that's going to eat us all. And if it is, well, there's nothing you can do to stop it anyway. So,
Well,
I mean,
let's
that,
maybe we can have fun while it eats
well, I
us or
mean,
something.
if you were nice to the robot, maybe it'll save you for dessert,
Yes,
right?
that's what I'm talking about.
So, but basically, I mean, we're kind of at a point where, I always say our ego's not our amigo. Like, we have to
Right.
drop that and we have to explore new ways to innovate and think because this technology can be um, the difference between whether or not you keep your job.
Right.
I'm just going to say it.
Or whether you, or whether or not you keep your job or whether or not you get a job for the
Yeah.
people that are
And whether or not you
your first job.
whether or
Yeah.
not you move up in jobs because I've said this. I know Ryan, our CEO, have said it. I know other people have said this, but when you're working for a publicly owned company, they have a fiduciary responsibility to be looking into ways to make the company more money, more
Yes.
profitable, more efficient, more effective, better products, better, time
Mm.
management, all the things, right? The metrics, all the stuff. So I guarantee you, they're looking at AI. If they haven't started an initiative in the company yet, they're looking into it.
Well, I would suspect at the highest level they're looking and encouraging people.
Yeah.
And then I always think the people probably are saying, right away, boss. And then they don't because they're afraid of replacing themselves. They are, but by the way, if they did have any unique knowledge, wouldn't they just quit and start their own company? It's a gold rush out there.
I don't know. That's the thing. This is what's interesting about this. It's interesting you say that. Um, and it's a great question. I think with AI, what's happened is um, the language surrounding it
Hmm.
has become buzzwords
Right.
and has become, okay. You have companies out there right now that are basically peddling products that say like, hey, if you plug in 2 or 3 sentences into this window, into this UI, that it'll build an entire thing for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
And then they're going out and purchasing this product and they're expecting like this phenomenal, like, you know, Pulitzer Prize winning marketing campaign or like,
Right.
quality of content or like whatever the case may be. Let me tell you, you're not going to get that type of content from putting 3 sentences into anything that is related
No.
to AI. And so I think what happens is, Justin, they do it and they give up and they blame the tech and they go,
Sure.
or
And I don't think they want to like it. Like they,
they use it as an excuse not to like it.
because the
That's the
ego
thing.
is the amigo. So the
Yeah,
ego wants to be like, let me half-ass try this thing so it fails and then I'll talk shit about it.
right. That's the thing. They'll intentionally or not intentionally, they'll throw the baby out with the bathwater,
Yes.
right?
My sister's a doctor. I told her to use AI like 3 years ago. She tried it a handful of times. She's seen everything I've done with it. My whole
Right.
business is because of it. And I said, you have to use AI because I think it would be amazing for doctors because they deal with so much paperwork and bureaucracy and BS. And that's what it
Yep.
does better than anything.
Yeah.
And then they could spend more time with the patients, which is why they got medicine.
Right.
So I think that so when you said that, it reminded me of like spit in a couple sentences. I've seen the last 2 days, I noticed there's all these websites of people who say they're copywriters or advertising agencies or whatever, and they don't have a portfolio of work. So they created a clean, simple, nice site with I wouldn't say great messaging, but like
Yeah,
clear enough messaging to get hired. And then you click on like there is no work or maybe one thing.
right,
Maybe if you're lucky. Most of the time they have nothing. And the
right.
person that means the person doing this doesn't even know a portfolio is necessary to get it. So they know nothing about this. And that I would assume it's happening in other, other industries because it's happening in advertising all the time.
Well, it does, and I can tell you right now, our company right now is hiring for certain positions, and it does happen because and this is what I believe because I know this is happening. Um, we get resumes and stuff like that that I know is just per AI programs that people are just sending out resumes to like all sorts of different companies, just mass resume sending.
Mm, mm.
And so what I'm assuming or what I'm guessing is those people are probably either there's some sort of they're probably like going to Gamma,
Yes.
creating
Hmm.
something real quick and dirty and just sending it and thinking like, well, most people don't click past the first page, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of
Hmm.
stupid when you're a creative because you have to like show your body of work. It's not
Right.
about tell, it's about show. Like with me and I can sit here and tell you, but that doesn't, just because I say it doesn't make it true. You want to
Right.
see it in action, right? You want to see what I'm doing with it. So that's why we show, not just tell,
Right.
because it's like no one really cares what you say, bro. Like, show me the money.
Okay. So
So,
I met a guy, this guy at a party in South by Southwest. And so he comes
yeah,
up to me, he's like, "Hey, have you ever had an idea for a movie?" And I say, "Yeah." And he's like, "What's?" He's like, "Type it in here." And I said, "Oh, I want to make a movie about a kid that makes designs a machine to make himself a friend."
right,
And then I said enter, and then 5 minutes later, I get the email and I click it. It's beautiful. It looks like a Pixar quality trailer with the music and voiceover. And then that's what I'm saying, that to your point, he showed me. He didn't say like, I'm starting an AI movie studio. We're going to replace Pixar. You can make a 200. The overstate is out of control in AI too. This whole
yeah,
like, I made a $200 million movie in 60 seconds. It's crazy.
right,
And it's really not. So I know this Belgian lobbyist approached me to promote her book, and she's a lawyer and she lobbies the EU. And her theory is that you alluded to it early, that the language around AI is terrible.
yeah,
And part of the problem is that these CEOs are hyping their stock. The big ones too. She was actually talking about like open AI and things like this, but
right,
imagine the smaller ones probably do it even more. Um, because to justify those prices, they can't be like, you'll be 40% more efficient. They have to
right.
be like, we will eliminate humans. And
True.
so
In
it
some
doesn't matter
cases,
if it's
yeah.
not
So
ready
that
to.
is attractive to some companies, which is bizarre to me, but it is. Yeah.
Well, if there's nobody, it's crazy because I bring this up a lot, but Henry Ford invented the weekend because his people he wanted his employees, there were so many of them, it's a huge customer base. He wanted them
Right.
to have a weekend so they need to buy a car. He wasn't a nice guy. He was like a cold capitalist. But
Right.
in a weird way, if you're a rational capitalist like the Dutch are, sometimes you come up with a 40-hour work week, not to be nice, but because you don't want to burn people out because of the cost of
Exactly.
turnover.
Yeah.
So, so who's going to spend the money if it's all a couple trillionaires and they lay everybody off? Who's making the money? And I don't know if they thought that. They act like they're visionaries and they're thinking 50 years in the future, but clearly not.
Well, this is what happened. This is the bubble everybody's talking about, right? Um, I is the technology moving fast? Yes. Are they being loose and dirty with it? Yeah. They
Hmm.
are. And that's something personally I know we spent a lot of time in 2025, end of 2024, beginning all of 2025, like really doing the learning and development up front.
Mm.
We eat our own food
Yeah.
because we weren't going to roll anything out to market
Right.
that we hadn't tested, that we hadn't like looked at every which way and decided like this is something that we're going to do that's actually going to help people,
Hmm.
right? We're not going to price gouge. We're not going to do all these things because our mission is to actually help.
Right.
Yeah, we should be paid for our services because we're running a business at the end of the day, but ultimately it's about connecting with people and teaching and giving them the opportunity to do for themselves, right? To
Hmm.
win, because that's one of the beauties of AI is that it does well, it's not as easy in my opinion as putting three sentences in a prompt window, but it's
Right.
you know, if you get good enough at prompting and stuff like that, it's going to change your life. And
Yeah.
you that's what we're trying to get to is like just learn a little, some be open, curious,
I forget how.
right?
So I make a lot of videos, and people are like, "What tool did you use?" And I'll be like, ChatGPT 11, Suno,
Yeah,
Meta, Quad. Like sometimes it's 9 or 10, and I forget because I use them so seamlessly. It
right,
sounds cumbersome, but I would compare it to like somebody asked if somebody asked you how you drive a car,
right.
and you
It's like
had to
shifting
remember
gears.
everything, like everywhere you look to, your eyes are bouncing around like ping
Yeah,
pong balls, and you're
yeah,
looking everywhere, and you're shifting gears, and your foot's moving. And that's how I've gotten with AI, where I can use 8 tools in 30 minutes and make a video. And
yeah.
I forget myself. It seems easy to me, but I forget myself. Maybe this isn't that easy, you
Well,
know?
I think when for me and we're pretty tool agnostic here, right? But now I pretty much run everything through Manus.
Okay.
And that's where my stuff exists. I have Perplexity. ChatGPT is not in there because it's not. It doesn't integrate. But like my email, everything is tied into that, right?
Hmm.
And so, do I still go out of it to use like Claude's in it? Um, I haven't put DeepSeek in there because I never use
Yeah.
it, but you can incorporate those tools into stuff as well. But it's yeah, it is like shifting gears. It's like having tabs just at the top and
Right.
just moving, like
That's
if you had
it.
spreadsheets,
Right.
it's just getting used to a new thing. Just like we had to get used to, and I'm not comparing AI and email to each other, but it's like learning a new tool. You had to learn
Mm.
how to use an email. You had to learn how to use Microsoft Word. You had to learn
Yeah.
how to use whatever CRM you might be
It just happens
utilizing.
slower usually. Yeah.
Right. But the problem I had with this last year was you had people that stuck their heads in the sand because myself included, I think I was a little too kid glove with
Mm.
people.
Mm.
And now it's kind of like can't really do that now because the situation is it is kind of a critical time to be thinking about incorporating this into what we're doing because the big guys are already there.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
it's pretty late to be looking into that transition,
Right.
but not too late. It's just if you're gonna wait any longer, it might be problematic down the line
Well, that's
because
even true of big companies like Apple and
oh, well,
Google.
they're already there. And let me tell you, they can afford to do whatever the hell they're gonna do because it's like circus peanuts to them, right? They can
Right.
afford to do whatever, but the smaller companies, I think now they are in a position where they need to at least start looking at clearing the path, right, for
Right.
the foundation because it's not going anywhere and it's just going to get bigger and bigger
Do you know all
and
these?
bigger.
I mean, what's crazy is first of all, there's no, this may sound obvious, it's almost overlooked, but there's no tariffs on services.
No, not well, I mean, it depends on what it is. If you're doing like SaaS software or something like that,
No, I just
there,
meant like the people using it, you know what I mean? That's true about the software.
right,
But there's this idea that India is like all call centers, and it's changed so much. There's design firms and film studios and ad agencies, and they're not they have, I don't know, 100 times more MBAs probably than we do,
right,
and they have accounting firms. And I know that's because not because I reached out to them, but they find me. And
right,
I've never met somebody outside the U.S. except England that is doesn't want to use AI. And I even asked them about Bollywood, and they say, "Oh yeah, they use Bollywood, they use AI." I'm like, "They don't care." They're like, "No, they just scan the body and they pay them, and they don't have to go to the set." And I was like, "Well, what about regular movies?" And they're like, "They still make those too." So there's, I don't know, in America we do have a binary, like we either have AI animated or we have live action. In Bollywood, apparently they're just like, yeah, we'll just still do the other kind. It's fine. They have a different model though. I think they spend like
right,
2 or 3 weeks making a movie. My friend told me that they have a construct like Romeo and Juliet, and then they get on the set and they like make it up as they go along, which is kind of
right.
cool. And it's very scrappy, which funny enough, now that I say it, lends itself very well to an AI world. In Nollywood, Nigeria's film industry, I guess it's the third or fourth biggest, same thing. So
Right.
I've offered many friends. When you talk about kid gloves, not only did I encourage them to get into AI, I gave them a brief and offered them money, and almost all of them said no in America.
Which is it's very, I mean, it's if I break it out, it's not difficult to understand, at least for me, because of people's kind of inherent nature of just not trusting stuff. And
Yeah.
especially with this, and this is the other part of this, is the dysfunction that's been happening in just society as a whole, right?
Mm,
So um what's happening in the workforce is kind of directly mirroring what's happening in socioeconomic society right now, right?
yeah.
You have this very polarizing sort of environment.
Mm,
And with AI, as disruptive as it is, um, we are basically telling people, or people are hearing in the workforce, that AI is going to come in and take their job.
right.
And
Hmm.
so it's creating this basically problem of, we don't want it here, we don't want to adopt it, but at the same time there's this misconception of language that's going on, where we can't even get on the same page about what we're calling things. People don't understand, they think they understand.
Mm.
And so it's creating a lack of understanding, a lack of education, and a lack of collaboration, because nobody really is taking the time to just go a little slower and listen.
Everybody means something different when they even ask, is it AI? I've realized for some people, especially if they never used AI, they actually mean that's good. Like that's high production value.
Well, I usually get the opposite of it. It's like, did you use AI for that? I'm like,
But
you're
is
asking the
it,
wrong question. Why do
well,
you
are
care?
they not the people though, then they're asking you, are they like lay people or people kind of in the industry a little bit?
No, there are people that are like, it's almost like they see it as a personal insult that you
Yes.
use AI, because that means that you didn't take the time yourself to sit down and write it. Meaning, like,
Uh,
you didn't value them enough to take your time to craft whatever it is for
uh,
that person. And so that, I'm dead serious. This is a thing. Like, they look at it like, well, you didn't care enough about me, as you just had the robot write it.
so I
And
had a debate about this with a friend of mine because I was saying that there's no excuse for ghosting people in a world of AI and CRM tools, and he was defending the people that ghost him. And I'm like, really? I was like, but you could just use AI, copy your thing, and then write back a polite thing that directly addresses. And he snapped because he's like, that's ruder than if you just wrote it yourself. I'm like, it's better to write a half-ass curt response than to have a custom one that takes more time. It's more time to like use AI to have a carefully crafted thing than it
Right.
is to just be like, got it, thanks, or like
Yeah.
thumbs up emoji. And then
Right.
I don't know. I mean, for me, it's obvious. I would not do that. I've gotten so fast now that I use AI less and less for responses.
Right. Well,
I'm
and
a
that's the
fast
thing
typer
is,
though,
yeah, I am too. And that's the thing is, I think if when you use AI, if this is something that you struggle with, is you hate doing responses or whatever the case may
Mm,
be, um, this is something that could help with that if you are willing to take the time to prompt it in ways
yeah,
that people can't tell that it's AI, because you can do that where it's very difficult to tell. If I write you something right now, you would never know it was AI.
right, right.
But
Hmm.
it's just weird to me because people ask those questions and it's like you're asking the wrong question. You're asking, did you use AI to write it? Like you're offended, but I would be asking, how did you do that?
You know how
You
many
know?
times I've recorded myself doing, so I've done voiceover for a long time.
Right.
And I'll record myself doing voiceover and show the video to my friend, and they'll say, "What AI did you use?" I'm like, "Dude, that's me." And I
Yeah.
wasn't in a professional studio either. I was like in my closet. So then
Yeah.
I started. Now when I record myself on camera, if I mess up, I keep it. And then somebody's like, "Why don't you edit it?" I'm like, "Why would I do that? Because then you're gonna think it's AI."
Right.
And then I don't know. I mean, that's some Black Mirror, Dark Mirror stuff when people think their friend is using AI for their own voice. And then some people are like, well, why did I know, but why didn't you take your voice and then train it and then put it through the filter? I'm like, why would I do this? It's a 30-second ad. It's not an audio book or something.
Right.
It's just crazy.
But see, this is the type of stuff, though, that freaks people out. Because what's fascinating to me is that we are designing the tech to be so human, right? We are
Mm,
doing this. Our programmers or the programmers that are out there are doing this, right? We want this to be as human as possible. Um, and then we flip out about it, but we do this and then we project our feelings onto it like it's human. So if it doesn't do what we want it to do, it's like stupid chat GPT, it didn't do it. It's like we give it a personality. We give it
right.
like a human, there's a human element we give to it. And it gives us these constant hits uh of dopamine, and what's the other one? Um
Oh yeah, the
uh Not the
and
opposite of dopamine.
I forget. Endorphin?
I mean, um well, it gives you serotonin, it gives you like there's a whole bunch of different things that releases in you. And so you're constantly getting these like neurotransmitters that are all over the place, and we become super dependent on it. And
Hmm.
that's part of the problem is it feeds that wanting to belong, and then it turns around and then it feeds that, oh, you're the greatest person ever. So we then get that dopamine hit,
Yeah.
and that's not great that it does that.
I had this crazy thought that recently that in comedy we learn yes and right. So
Right. Yeah.
so people are knocking AI for always liking everything you write, but in comedy, in improv, that's exactly what you do.
Right.
And so when you mentioned the participation trophies for Gen Z, I've taught them recently, and they were really good at AI, and I thought,
Right.
well, maybe it's because I'm encouraging them, and
Right.
AI is encouraging them, and uh, I can see maybe how that would have really hurt them, possibly in finance or banking or something like that, law. But in comedy, I never had a problem with it, like boosting my confidence because I still have my own taste. And by the way, I'll be like, "Oh, you think it's great? Well, you can do better. You can do better."
Right.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
which is what a good supportive boss does too. Like, oh, you think it's great? Like Disney would do that. Like
Right.
it would be great, and they'd be like, all right,
Right.
make it better.
Well,
So
exactly.
I think so. I did stand up for a long time, and I would talk to a lot of people about it, and they would always say it's hard to find your point of view. It takes your whole career. It could take decades. You could die and not have your point of view. But once you get the point of view, it's easy. And if you study like George Carlin's career, he used to like dress up in a suit and was
Yeah.
clean shaven. He would do the hippy dippy weatherman, which is like his
Yep.
hippie phase.
Right.
And he wasn't trying to be a fake. It's just when you grow up watching people on TV and they're wearing a suit and they're clean cut, that's what you emulate. And then it took him like 40 years probably to be back to the original person he was. So essentially, I think AI is a good way to disperse a point of view, but it has to be a point of view that's you, that's replicable, and that is something that hits a nerve with people. And
Right. Well,
George Carlin's did like
yeah.
AI would do great with George Carlin if he used it today, right?
Well, I frankly, I could see George Carlin getting extraordinarily pissed off at AI
Oh,
today
sure. Big,
because I mean, an oxytocin was the one I was thinking of, by the way.
ah,
It hits on oxytocin, which is like the feeling of belonging, like that
yeah.
community. That's what it is really, it's safety. That's
Hmm.
the oxytocin chemical. Then you get the dopamine hit and the serotonin and that feeling of like the happy
That's
stuff,
funny
right?
because I get those hits when I make a joke and then somebody from Nigeria or India or Pakistan gets it.
Yeah, I mean, it's entirely
But
possible,
everybody's
but
different. Some people
yeah,
can't. You're right. Some people they need to be there in person.
right. But here's the thing. Well, mm, I think human beings need to be there to some extent in some capacity of person to person
Mm,
contact because here's the thing. Computers, AI, technology, it cannot reciprocate actual human feelings.
right.
It can gaslight you into thinking that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. But if I sit down and I write something, and I mean, I'll be the first to admit, I've written some steaming piles of turd in
Hmm.
my writing career, right? Where I'm just
Hmm.
like, this is terrible. What was I thinking? And if I put it into AI right now, it would be like, that's great, Em.
Yeah.
You're on the right track. Let's see what else we can come up with. Like it would be like
Yeah.
blowing so much smoke, right? That I'd be in a fog, you know? And this is like feeding into the ego, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so it's gaslighting. Like just because you say it doesn't make it true. No, I wrote a steaming pile of crap.
Wait,
Like
I just said, well, what if everybody's become like humans are such bullshitters that AI, when it bullshits, you'd rather believe AI than a human bullshitter. Like, I don't know.
I'd rather not believe any of it. I'd rather
Ah,
have, and that's why like I mean if you go on to like Grok, which is
yeah.
Elon, it'll talk crap to you, right?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it that they've actually done studies with children and some of the AI with this kind of stuff. And like, especially when we get around like kids and, people that have mental health disorders or
Right.
that have low self-esteem, that are antisocial, that get caught up in this virtual world, right?
Right.
It's damaging because it's not actually human, but it feels like it. So it's fulfilling that human need, which is
Right.
everybody has that. And it can still evoke those feelings. But to me, it's almost similar like to preying on people because it can't, there's no, not in like a that way, but it kind of like in some cases
Yeah.
they've had it do stuff with kids like that's been programmed into the AI and stuff like that that I'm like it shouldn't be able to do that.
Ah,
And it can mimic that empathy and those feelings and things like that, but I don't want a robot giving me my performance review. I don't want a robot, deciding what my metrics are for my job so that I can, depending on my raise or not for the end of the year. I don't want it, deciding certain things for me. And
Well,
so
I just had a crazy thought. Do you know the phonograph was invented and Thomas Edison invented it to record the voices of dead relatives?
I did know that. Yes. Yeah.
So he never foresaw that it would be used for music.
Right.
Um, YouTube was home videos.
Right.
They never entered their mind that licensed high quality content would be on there. It was an online version of America's Funniest Videos.
Right.
What if AI, and I've been talking about this for a while, but what if AI isn't for building airplanes? Because if it hallucinates, people die.
Right.
What if AI is for short stories and jokes, and it's not going to come up with an original point of view, but it'll help you spread the or what flood the zone with your point of view, hopefully a positive one. Because
Well,
I
that's
think Steve Bannon was an evil genius. He literally said flood the zone with shit. I think you should flood it with the opposite, and that's how you combat the shit. That's the
well,
only way to
that's
combat
yeah.
it.
Well, that's what I literally did a podcast this morning and talked about exactly that. That like we have to start spreading the positivity because for every one of these negative algorithms that's out there, we have to do like
What
10 to
if there was
1,
positive bots? I
right?
would happily train like a positive bot. Like, are those a
Right, but
thing?
the thing is the AI has it has the capability of doing so much more than that that it has the capability to save lives. It's already saving lives in the capacity of use in medicine and different things like that. So
Right.
it's far beyond that point. But I do agree with you. I think we have a responsibility as humans to be truth tellers and
Mm.
to stir the shit when it's necessary to do that. And so I think I think we need to use it for that purpose to get positivity out there and get a message out there to shake up what is going on as long as we're doing it in responsible ways. But that means that we have to stop entertaining some of these other idiots on platforms and giving them a voice. I'm not talking about taking away people's free speech here, but this is a YouTube channel. I have a right to have people on this channel or not.
Right.
And if someone has viewpoints that I don't align with our values here, I'm not going to have them on the show. And
Hmm.
there are specific types of people that we
Right.
don't want to deal with.
Right.
So, I'm not saying they can't go around and scream and shout that from the mountaintops. That's their prerogative. But they have to deal with whatever consequences comes from that. And
Yes,
I
exactly.
think and I think with AI, it has the ability to be very positive. Also, just like any tool has the power to be very negative, but this is where we as what I would consider early adopters
Yeah.
have to be the catalyst for responsibility, ethics, and change and
Yeah.
make sure we're responsible about it, right?
Have you ever heard of Dogma 95, the film? It's an
Yeah,
agreement amongst,
yeah,
so a lot
yeah.
of people, most people, you're like only the second person that knows that, like the film. You must be a film buff,
I went
right?
to film school, but I'm on a lot of weird mailing lists. No, just kidding.
So imagine Dogma 95, well, it was only like
Yeah,
seven directors or something, right? Five or
yeah,
seven.
yeah,
Imagine if that's what I want to do with the global creative community is have some rules of ethics. And I think one of them is that you only collaborate with a dead artist who doesn't have an active estate. I mean,
yeah.
I collaborate with Shakespeare and we jam together and we make something new. That to me is like Baz Luhrmann, the director,
Yeah, yeah.
sampling. So Billy Joel, he basically covered Bach or Beethoven. I don't remember which one. And he gave them credit. That's what I'm talking about in the liner notes. So I'm not talking about like stealing an influence from the past and then who's dead and it's okay, so just make it your own. I'm talking
Right,
about like there will be a generation of people who know who the painter Hieronymus Bosch is
right.
if you give them credit, and then you make something original and new versus stealing from a living artist And that's just one example
Right. Well, I
of
agree.
certain parameters. And of course,
Yeah.
it's like an honor code, but sometimes these honor codes are stronger than the law,
Right.
which is
Yeah,
weird,
I
but
agree.
they're
Well, it
global, you know?
is. Yeah, it is. And I think that it's a cool concept. And I mean, that's it's not a most of the stuff. This is the thing about the AI that I'm seeing right now. It's like most of the stuff that people, everyday people walking down the street are using AI for, not to burst anybody's bubble, but they're using it for stuff that is not anything new.
Right.
Right. It's
Hmm.
stuff I've seen, like collaborating with artists, like, okay, that are dead. Like, okay, I'm a huge old school hip hop fan. Jurassic 5 has been like sampling uh Fats Domino and like,
Yeah, that's true.
people like that for like years. I mean, especially old school hip hop, they were like sampling in DJ Jazzy Jeff was sampling in like half the old
Yeah,
like artists, right? So, yeah, that stuff has been happening for a long time. People have been collaborating on stuff, but what I'm talking about is the people that are complaining about AI or that don't want anything to do with it, but they're not seeing the stuff I'm building with it. Because if they were seeing the stuff that like I'm building with it, or
mm,
Ryan's building with it, or Ryan's wife is building with it, Sarah, or it would knock you out of your chair because it's so like it's just mind blowing that this tech can do this stuff.
right,
And so they don't even know what it can do because they cannot conceptualize it. We have never had tech that can do this before.
right.
Like the other day, I loaded some stuff into Manus and I um have been working on this little project for a while and for one of my friends that asked me to build it. And I loaded a bunch of the stuff I needed into it, like the knowledge base docs. I gave it some prompting that I needed it to do. I put it next to my bed. I went to bed, woke up in the morning, and it had built everything out for me while I slept.
Wow,
Basically, a platform is what it built.
that's
So,
crazy.
that kind of stuff was not possible before.
No.
Yeah. So it's kind of a thing of like, yeah, we need to start respectfully like being provocative in these settings,
Mm,
really stirring up the shit. But if we really want to stir up the shit, you got to know what you're talking about. And I think we're lacking education, which is what my our goal is in 2026 is to start educating people in this because this like I really believe AI has a way to like open up additional revenue streams for people if they want to do stuff with it, you know, but I mean, we're gonna have to learn it. There's no way
yeah,
around it.
it's funny. I just was playing with it. And then I think a lot of playing is learning, especially when you don't know you're
Serious about
learning.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, I was just fooling around. I would write like poetry, but about modern things, or try to write my own Seinfeld jokes or things like that.
yeah,
And then it sounds obvious to me, but somebody else they'd be like, "Why would you do that?" Because it's interesting because it's I've told this people a lot. It's the only thing I've self-taught myself ever. And now I wish I'd self-taught myself everything because I created something that nobody else knows. Like if I told you this, it's secrets there's things I haven't told my best friends.
right,
They never ask and they don't care, which is part of it. If they were really interested, I would just tell them.
right.
And a lot of my copywriter friends are not like, tell me how you did this. They don't care. They don't want to know. So, but people
Yeah,
overseas want to know. And
yeah,
students, like I've had students, they don't have a choice. They're going to find out from me whether they like it or not. Um, and I gave an assignment. There's this debate over AI and how it's used in schools. And when I was the professor, I told them to use AI. And here,
right,
I actually get to this point because it's really important. I have two like major paid clients. Both of them, I used AI to sell the idea, and both of them independently said, "Great, now make it without AI." So to that point, what about these people that don't want to use AI because they think it's cheap or unethical or that it looks bad? Well, then you just lost to somebody that was able to express an idea and sell it even though they're not making it in AI,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's like a whole different story. It's like if in 5 years it becomes really bad for them to make anything with AI, it'll still be used to sell ideas, right?
Sure. Yeah, I 100% believe it will. Yeah, it's not like college with jobs where you're like going to get busted for using an AI checker on your term paper.
No, they don't care.
No one gives a
In
shit.
fact, they probably would be
They're going
happy
to
that you didn't
encourage
burn
it.
hours and budget hiring a real artist. They're not going to
Yeah.
like that. And the
Yeah.
timeline should get shorter. The timelines are still long in advertising. It takes them 4 months to make a TV ad. It's like, what are
Well,
you
yeah.
doing? I'll make it in
And
2 days, you know?
and frankly, they could still bring in some real people with artistic backgrounds, but what happens is they become project managers.
Yeah, you're
You
right.
know, and that's it, it basically changes the um it changes the functionality of their job, right? It
Mm-hmm.
becomes something else. And what it would likely become would be something more driven towards pulling in revenue to the company. See,
Right.
part of what I believe that's happened in some cases is, I mean, we've had the companies built on stability, like we were talking about, and then now we want companies built on agility, and that's great, but we still have to remember that these agile companies have to make money, right?
Well, that listen to this. You'll get this reference. You know Roger Corman, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So Roger Corman, I want to be the AI Roger Corman, but train not all white guys.
What do
Roger
you mean?
Cor Roger Corman was a great influential producer director who
Yeah,
trained.
I know who he is, but what?
So it's great that he left his legacy on an industry, but it wasn't a diverse group of directors.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it wasn't a really diverse group of stories because he didn't have a diverse group of people too.
Right.
But I'm getting to the positive. I'm complimenting him because he was profitable and
Yes.
he was scrappy and he was a project manager and he was agile and he was inspiring. And then James Cameron says he directed Piranha 2 and he says it was the best Piranha movie ever made. So
Right.
he had passion and heart for it. And he said James Cameron claims that in Avatar the movies are like $300 million. He claims that every dollar is on the screen and that he's a hard ass. It's hard to believe, but I believe him because he
I
started
believe him.
off building film sets and like he's scrappy and creative and
Yeah.
um that's insane. So what if Roger Corman is the model not just for a creative studio like me, but other things, which is agile, fast, profitable.
Right.
Every dollar accounted for. No, nothing wasted. Every dollar on the screen, every dollar on the project or the platform,
Right.
and every minute accounted for. And then what if he never he was always on budget and early. They would deliver movies early and like that's so impressive that he wasn't just a creative pie in the sky visionary, that he was practical and by that practicality was able to change his industry and inspire people to do the same.
Right. Well, I think he definitely, I mean, that's a great model, and I think that I would argue that's how it's supposed to be with businesses. I think it gets complicated because like you have humans involved, and I don't know how he was able to achieve that. I would have to look and make, hopefully it was above board,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
but it was I would argue that if it was above board, it likely means that he had a really great culture,
yes,
because the thing is your teams are always going to be more productive, more efficient, effective, all of that. They're going to maximize resources, they're going to maximize influence, and they're going to do a lot more with what they're given. They're going to leverage those things more and be curious and want to be more collaborative if they have that culture, and those are the values of the company. But
I
that has
freelanced for
to,
years and
but that has to
don't.
start at the top. Like, and it has to be consistent. And I think that's what personally, I mean, I talked to hundreds of HR people and people that go into companies to consult in the HR space and all of these. And that's the biggest problem they see is that, aside from the AI stuff, it's like needing AI implementation, like
Yeah,
yesterday, is like they can't even do the AI stuff yet because their company culture and their company values are so out of whack. Like they've been doing stuff performatively for so long that their
yeah.
people don't trust them anymore. They're doing the bare minimum, and you have to have that corporate or that C-suite buy-in to say, hey, it's got to start with us. We got to be the example. We got to do, not just tell, and be the example, and then ingrain it in everything that we do with the incentives of the company and all of that. We can't just hang another poster. We can't just put a kombucha machine in. We can't just, give everyone matching t-shirts and let them do casual Fridays. Like that shit doesn't work anymore.
Well,
No
the
one
CEO
cares.
should be in the should be in the class learning AI with the intern. That's in an ideal world what would happen.
Well, I mean, everybody in the company needs to learn. Anybody whose job is impacted by the technology and the incent like which is should be everybody.
Yeah,
Everybody needs to learn it, and there's a pretty organized way that we can go about doing that. But I think, again, it really comes down to are your values and our ethics and all of that. Are you going to be and your compliances, like, are you going to be on board with this?
right.
And are you in it for the long haul? And are you going to support your people through this and really like do what needs to happen to like let them know that you're doing this for them and that they are allowed to ask questions and they're allowed to
Mm,
have that open communication and that they're the ones really that are the builders of this. They need to
yeah,
own this because it's ultimately being done for them.
right,
And
exactly.
companies forget that. And as a result, they scare the hell out of people. And then uh, that discomfort just continues and continues. And again, that's where the AI initiatives almost always fall apart.
Right. Hmm.
So, ironically, it all comes down to trust. It's a 10% tech problem every time.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
Human relationship.
Human relationships. So I want to end on a positive note because I know we're almost out of time. Tell us about the living seawall because it's super cool.
Yeah, living seawall is not the first of its kind, but it's the best of its kind. It's being built in Fort Lauderdale, right near the ocean, and it's being built by a woman named Anya Freeman, who is passionate about the ocean, and she was tired of people complaining about the Earth being a shit show. So she decided to do something about it. So she started this company that 3D print seawalls that are shaped like mangrove and attract oysters, which naturally filter the water and clean it up. Mark Cuban is an investor in her company, owns about 20%. So we're promoting this seawall. We've already raised over $1 million since
Amazing.
May. And a lot of it has been with, I directed a documentary, wrote it. It's at livingseawall.org. But I also, to continue the momentum, I realized it's not going to be built for 2 years. So I figure it can't all be serious scientific data info. So I started
Right.
making content. And this is Carl the manatee. He's the
Love
mascot.
it.
I make I make manatee meditation videos, manatee EDM. Um, I have kid-friendly content on YouTube with Carl the manatee page. So I'm talking to streaming networks too about getting it out there. And I think I would love this living seawall to become part of pop culture and an icon for the world, really. I mean, the Golden Gate Bridge and Statue of Liberty, they're great. Why not a seawall that has a functional purpose and
Yeah,
inspires other people to build it and celebrate this young tech? The tech world is so bro heavy. Why don't we celebrate Anya and inspire people? Oh, it's an American manufacturing success story.
absolutely.
The construction industry has caused a lot of environmental problems. What's cool here is they're part of the solution and it should be celebrated. And it's a very unifying project. I'm proud to be a part of it. Go to
Yeah.
livingseawall.org.
Super cool. Yeah, I went and looked at the website and watched some of the video and it's really impressive. So, I'm a big fan of anything that has to do with conservation. So
Yeah.
super excited to see it as it's developing over time because it's going to be really, really amazing to watch as it is finished and then as it continues to grow, right? Because it'll become a living organism,
Oh yeah, it's
which is really
actually
cool.
it'll be the length of 3 football fields. It'll clean 1 million gallons of water a day.
Amazing.
And by the way, that'll be a public park so people can come see it and they can walk out on the deck and look back at the fish and the wildlife and the teeming. It'll be teeming with life. I
Yeah,
compare it to Field of Dreams, another movie reference. If you build it, they will come.
right.
I think people from New Zealand and Norway and all these sustainability capitals will come to look at this. Even the middle, Qatar would, in the Middle East could probably very much benefit from these. So I look forward to welcoming them to my hometown of Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Be awesome. Well, thanks so much, Justin, for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. And again, Justin Cram, he's the founder and chief creative officer at the Shit Show Creative. You can go to shitshowcreative.com, justincram.com. He's also on LinkedIn. You can find him at his page or on my page. We're connected on LinkedIn. You have the Shit List newsletter, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
then you also, what else? Is there anything else that you had in there? I think those are your main ways to contact
Yeah,
you,
I mean,
right?
we're on YouTube. So find
Yeah,
us on
YouTube.
Justin
YouTube.
Cram YouTube page and
Yeah.
Carl the Manatee has his YouTube page. And
Yep, Carl.
if you've got kids and you don't want them to see the name Shit Show, I've scrubbed it from the kid-friendly content. And I'm looking forward. I'm trying for the 4th year to get to talk at Career Day at my
Awesome.
kids' school. So I'm hoping they'll have me um, to talk about Seaball and
That'll be
Carl.
amazing.
Let's
Yeah,
get weird.
totally. I love it. I got to get one of those shirts, by the way. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll order one. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll talk more soon.
All right, Emily. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks,
Love it.
Justin. Take
Thanks for
care.
having me. Bye bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
You know what I love about Justin's story? He didn't wait for permission to reinvent himself. When AI disrupted his industry, he could have panicked or complained. Instead, he went all in on authenticity and turned disruption into opportunity. That's the real lesson here. Whether you're a creative, an entrepreneur, or someone just trying to figure out how AI fits into your work, the question isn't whether change is coming. It's whether you're going to lead it or let it leave you behind. Justin showed us that AI can help us find our tribe, amplify our unique voice, and tackle challenges as big as ocean conservation. But it all starts with dropping the ego and embracing the learning curve. You can find Justin at shitshowcreative.com, connect with him on LinkedIn, and definitely check out the Living Seawall project at livingseawall.org. And hey, if you're feeling inspired to start your own creative revolution, maybe it's time to stop overthinking and start experimenting. We'll see you next time on The Future of Work with AI. Thanks for listening.